दशरथनन्दाय विद्महे सीतावल्लभाय धीमहि तन्नो राम प्रचोदयात्। हरिः ओम्। यत्र यत्र रघुनाथकीर्तनं तत्र तत्र कृतमस्तकाञ्जलिं भास्पवारि परिपूर्णलोचनं मारुतिं नमता रक्षसान्तकम्। ॐ आञ्जनेयाय विद्महे वायुपुत्राय धीमहि तन्नो हनुमन् प्रचोदयात्। हरिः ओम्। Namo Namaha. Hello. Suswagatam. Welcome. So, we have come to the final day of the journey made by Rama, or started in the great kingdom of Ayodhya, which was part of the Kaushalya Empire, where the four princes were born in order to reinstate the order that was required because of a boon granted by Brahma to Ravana. So the Lord has given a Mahavakya that whenever there is unrighteousness, He will incarnate from age to age to restore righteousness, to restore order. And that is a divine Vakya, that is a divine undertaking, there's a divine promise made by Lord. And you can see that in the lineage of the Dashavataram, Dasha means 10, Avataram means incarnations, every single time there was a problem which related to Dharma, Dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Whenever there was a decline in righteousness, Lord Krishna incarnated from age to age. Lord Vishnu incarnated from age to age. From Matsya Avatar to Kurma Avatar to Varaha Avatar to Narasimha Avatar to Vamana Avatar to Parasurama, Rama, Krishna, Uddha. And finally we are waiting for Kalki in Kali. Okay? So let's see what happens. Day before yesterday, on Thursday, I left you with Kishkinda Kandam, whereby Hanuman leaps over to Lanka, and I told you why Lanka has got Sri in front. And I said to you, no other country has Sri. So it's not Sri Lanka, right? Because of the greatness of two characters. One is Ravana, the other is Rama, and both set foot there. Of course, the 18 Siddhas, some of them have also been there, right, to important or significant places like Katirgamam. They have been there. So, and then, of course, he had his little exploits in front of Ravana. He met Sita, collected the Chudamani, and he flew back to Dhanushkodi, where Rama was waiting with Sugriva and the rest of them. So he comes back and he tells with excitement how he has met Mother Sita, and he shows Ram the Chudamani, and everybody is extremely elated. But he says Ravana is not about to give up. Ravana is not going to give in, so we have to attack. So Rama says, okay, let us go and attack. But then we have this ocean. So Rama goes in front of the ocean and he calls out to Samudra Raja, that means the king of the ocean, and he says, you know that I am on a path of dharmic pursuit to reinstate the dharma or the adharma done to Sita and the Raghukula Vamsa. Therefore, I need you to help me, O Samudra Raja. Then Samudra Raja says, build a bridge from here to there, use the boulders from this mountain and use the stones from this mountain and use the sand from this beach. So Rama asks, who has the capacity to build this bridge? And Samudra Raja says, you have Nala, who is the chief architect. And I told you, Nala is the incarnation of who? Vishwakarma. Vishwakarma is the celestial architect. He is the heavenly architect. He is the one who's designed and built most of the heavenly abodes. Whether you're looking at Brahmaloka or Vaikunda, or Sabarimala, it is because of Vishwakarma. So they go and pick the stones, and they go and pick the boulders. They throw the boulders in, the boulders float, but when they throw the stones sink. You know, big boulders and small stones, so they sort of become gelled as a path to walk. It was 100 yojanas long, right? From the shores of Rameshwaram to Sri Lanka. So the boulders were floating, but the stones were sinking. So they were wondering what to do. And as they were thinking, they see Agastya coming along. So they asked the Maharishi, what shall we do? Agastya says, since you are serving Ram, inscribe Ram on every stone and every boulder and then build. The moment they write Ram, the stones began to float. Whether small, big, medium, they all began to float. But still it was a bit shaky because the small and the big rocks, you know, today if you build something, you put cement to hold it in place, isn't it? Those days they didn't have cement. So what did they do? Here's where Sri Satya Sai says, in his Rama Kadavasini, he says the squirrels were called, squirrels. You know squirrels? The squirrels were called, and the squirrels were told to help in the building of the bridge. So how did the squirrels help? They went into the sea, the water, they got their first wet, then they came and they rolled on the sand, so all the sand went on their back, then they climbed the little bridge and they shook the sand off, so the sand fell inside all the little holes, and the bridge became strong and strong and strong. Of course, mixed with water, it became clay, and it held every single stone and brick or boulder in place. What is the significance for us today? We are not looking at the Vanaras building the bridge. We are not looking at Nala and Nila. Nila is important because he is the one who inscribed Ram in every rock. Nala is the one who built it. I told you Nala is Vishwakarma and Nila was Agni Deva. Anyway, the significance for today is, it doesn't matter how small your contribution is, every little contribution counts. Okay? So it doesn't matter, for example, if you come to the temple, you know, even if you pick some rubbish from the floor, you've done your job. You don't have to do big seva or big volunteering. Lots of people volunteer, right? But you must do what you can. Because you want to do it, not because somebody has asked you to do it. Like the squirrels, no matter how little they were, they still played an important role. But you see, the squirrels are not mentioned. They're not mentioned in Valmiki, they're not mentioned in Tulsidas, they're not mentioned in Kamba Ramayana. Right? But Swami mentions them. Anyway, so they built the bridge. How long did it take them to build the bridge? 5 days. 5 days, a bridge of such gregarious portion over such a far distance in 5 days. In today's day and age, with all the technology, how long does it take for them to put one small road? Now, you and I know the answer. Okay, so anyway, in 5 days, so that is why it's called Rama Setu. Rama is Rama, Setu means bridge. Now this is where there's a confusion, because most people have asked me, sir, but why is it called Adam's Bridge? It's called Adam's Bridge because when the English went there, they did not understand about Rama. For them, this bridge has been there since creation. And who started creation? Adam. So they called it Adam's Bridge. Right? Also, that was the time when, you know, I'm talking about recent times when the English went into Sri Lanka. That was the time when the proposition of Christianity and the promulgation of Christianity was happening. Therefore, they felt it was, they just didn't do it in Sri Lanka. Everywhere they go, they convert. Right? The name is still there. You get names like Victoria, Elizabeth, all this is still in India, in Sri Lanka, in Indonesia, in Singapore, in Malaysia, still there. Right? That is to just give a bit of recognition to the colonial times of the British Empire. So, the Vanaras with Rama, Lakshmana, Sugriva, Angad, Jambavan, Nala, Nila, all crossed. They crossed, they landed in Sri Lanka and they saw a little mountain. It's called Mount Sunesa. So they say, Rama said, we'll camp up there. And when he went up there, he says, Angada. Actually, who's Angada? Is the son of Vali. Okay? The Yuva Raja for Kishkinda. Angada, go to Ravana's court and give him one chance. If he seeks forgiveness and returns Sita, I will bless the kingdom and carry on. Okay? So Angada is sent as an emissary. Now, when he goes there, he challenged Ravana. He said, I'm going to put my foot down on the sand here. If any of you can lift my foot, 1 foot, if any of you can lift it, I will promise you Ram will go back to where he came from. So Rakshasas thought this is a very easy job. Let's go, pick it up. Nobody could do it. Right? Nobody could do it, and finally Ravana said, just kill them. Just kill the monkey. Whereupon Vibhishana said, the monkey is a messenger. You cannot kill the messenger. Right? Because messenger carries a message. You cannot kill the messenger if you don't like the message. So Rama says, I don't care. Kill the monkey. So they were going to kill him, and Angad, of course, one jump, he jumped and he escaped. And he went and told Rama, I think Ravana is a lost cause. Ravana is a lost cause. He is not going to give in. I asked him, but he wasn't. In fact, he told his army to kill me. So Ravana was slightly taken aback. So what he did, he called one of his asuras, who was a great magician, a trickster, right, a conjurer, Vidyut Juha. So he says, come here, Vidyut Juha. I want you to materialize by your magic the head of Rama and the head of Lakshmana. So he made some magic and he got Rama's head and Lakshmana's head. So Ravana held these two and he went to Sita in Ashokavanam and he said, look, you better agree to become my wife. I've already killed your husband and your brother-in-law. Sita, upon looking at it, because it was so real, you know, magic is, when you look at it, is real, isn't it? Anyway, so she fainted. She fainted, and then Ravana was summoned back to the palace. When Ravana left, the heads also went missing, disappear, because the magic will only last for a while, right? Then Trijata, who was the Rakshasi looking after Sita, she actually became very nice to Sita. And before Sita went, she actually blessed this lady, Trijata, who was a Rakshasi, Asuri. That Asuri said, don't worry, Rama and Lakshmana are both alive. This is just a trick to get you to agree. Now, I want to stop here for a minute and ask you to think, why did not Ravana forcefully marry Sita? Why was he asking for her consent? After all, he'd gone there, he's captured her, kidnapped her, brought her back to his harem, but he kept her in the Ashokavanam. Why couldn't he just marry her by force? And he was a master of so many arts. He could have just influenced her mind and got her to say, yes, I agree to marry you, Ravana. Why didn't he do that? Because Ravana had the curse of 3 women. The first woman cursed him by saying, your death will be because of a woman. The second woman said, you cannot marry any woman without that person's consent willingly. And the third woman said, your death will be caused by a man, a normal man, with the help of some monkeys. Of course, Ravana dismissed it then because he was such a powerful person, Dashamukha. Then this is why, right? And that is why he could not behave adharmically towards Sita. He kept asking. Finally, he knew he was not going to get her. Remember in Kishkinda Kandam, I told you, he went and said, 1 more month you have. If you don't agree, I'm going to kill you. And that's the time Hanuman went in. Timely. Okay? So, then the plan is, how do we attack? So Rama is sitting down. He's talking to Nila, he's talking to Angad, he's talking to Hanuman, he's talking to Jambavan, he's talking to Sugriva, and he's asking, how do we do this? Because Ravana he already knows we are here, and he's properly supported himself with his army in the 4 directions of north, east, south, west. Right? In the meantime, what happened was, when Ravana was trying to, kill Hanuman, Vibhishana stopped him. I spoke to you about Vibhishana Dharma. Again, when he wanted to kill Angad, Vibhishana stopped him. And Vibhishana then advised him, look, it's not going to work out. You might as well say sorry to Rama and return Sita, and everything will be fine. So what Ravana does, he says, you are a traitor, you are a coward, and you don't deserve to me by my brother, right? I am sending you away. Get lost, get out of my face, leave this fellow. So at that moment, Vibhishana goes, and with him, his 4 best friends go with him. And from there, they can see Rama's camp. So he goes and asks Rama if he can join Rama on the dharmic side. Of course, Rama always open arm, he receives people. But Nila, Angad, Jambavan, Hanuman were thinking, hey, this fellow is actually Ravana's brother. It's a bit suspicious why he's coming to our side. He could be a spy. But Rama said no. If he was a spy, he wouldn't come so openly with such genuine intent. So Rama accepts him. And Vibhishana says, I will send my 4 guys because they are known in Ravana's palace. So these fellows go and come back and say that Ravana has made sure that he is properly secured himself. So Rama says, Nila, you go to the north. Angad, go to the south. Jambavan, go to the west. Sugriva, go to the east. Hanuman, you go in the center. So he sends his troops. Then they enter and they start. Of course, you know what happens when monkeys start to misbehave, right? They were tearing everything apart. And then Ravana sends his troop and the fight starts. This is technically like the first day of battle, okay? Now, we know in Mahabharata, the war started on the first day and lasted for how many days? I've told you this. 18 days. On the first day, Bhagavad Gita. On the 18th day, Vishnu Sahasranama. That's the significance. Now, how many days did the Ramayana war last between Rama and Ravana? It lasted for 13 days. And Ravana attained moksha on the 13th day, which was actually Phalguna, Krishna Amavasya. Right? So it was a good time, Amavasya time. Right? And a great learned person left his mortal coils. Now Valmiki, when he was writing, he calculated everything to mathematical precision. So for those of you who are interested in dates, I say for those of you who are interested in dates because the dates really don't matter. It is the lesson. Right? It is the lesson. If you are going to cook a dish and you have all the ingredients, you shouldn't worry how the dish is going to turn up, because if you follow it accordingly, it will turn out well. Right? But if you don't have all the ingredients, then you should worry about how the dish is going to turn out, because you don't have all the ingredients. It's a simple matter. Right? Anyway, Valmiki says the day Ravana died was the 15th of November in 7292 BC. That calculation is for Jyotisha Shastram, astrology. 15th of November 7292 BC, that's before Christ. If Christ had come and gone now, 2,500 years ago, this is 7,292 years before that. And that is why they say the Ramayana happened about 8,000 years BC, and the Mahabharata happened between 10 and 11,000 BC. Now, so the second day the battle ensued, and Ravana's son Indrajit, he had amassed several powers. One of the powers was he was invisible. Invisible, that means nobody could see him. So during one of these days, I think it was the third day, he became invisible and he went and blew some noxious substance, right, which later came to be known as Nagapasha Astra. Snakes flying in the air, emitting noxious fumes. Okay? This of course knocked Lakshmana down, and even Rama, and there were 100 snakes around them. So everybody else was quite destitute. What are we going to do? Rama is knocked unconscious, Lakshmana is knocked unconscious. How are we going to fight this war? At that point in time, Garuda comes. Now you know the relationship between Garuda and snakes or serpents. If you look at the Vahanas, under Garuda's claws, the feet, you will always see a serpent stuck. So they are arch enemies. Even if you look at Murugan, the Mail always steps on the... That is to say, keep your enemies at a distance under the control of your Vahana. Your Vahana is your mind, right? And the God inside is your Buddhi, intelligence. So the mind should always keep the Moha Vasanas, the desires, at a distance, under control. Then you can rise up. So Garuda came, and the moment Garuda came, with its beak, it killed all the serpents, and it reinstated the consciousness of Rama and Lakshmana on the third day, right? Then the fighting continues. And of course, Lakshmana is Adi Shesha, right? Do you have to teach a snake to attack? So he was going on a rampage, killing all the army generals, the lieutenants, and everything. Of course, Sri Ramabhakta, Ramadhuda, Ramadasa, Anjaneya Swami was no less in valor, right? He killed all the big guys, like Dhumra Raksha. He killed Akampana. He killed Pasha, right? All the agoric asuras, Hanuman took care of. And in one story, when Narada actually goes to see Surya, Surya says, do you know that Hanuman single-handedly could have defeated Ravana? Because they have equal powers. They have equal powers. But why Hanuman didn't do that? Because the dharmic path is Rama is the one who should. Rama incarnated for that reason. So Hanuman is not going to cross that path of adharma by doing what Rama is supposed to do, although he could have. There are 3 occasions when he hurt Ravana so bad that Ravana had to retreat. So easily he could have, vanquished him. Okay? Then of course, Ravana is perturbed. He comes to the battleground and he strikes with the Indra Vajra, right? Lakshmana, he wanted to actually hit Sugriva. Lakshmana steps in front and stops him, and he is injured. Lakshmana falls down again. And then of course Ravana goes back and says, I think I've killed you finally, right? But Ravana was not going to take any chances. When he went back, he told his people in the palace, go and wake up my brother Kumbhakarna. And you all know the story of Kumbhakarna, right? One of gregarious proportions, very, very huge asura. He sleeps for 6 months, wakes up in a day, eats, and then goes back to sleep. What a life. If only we could live like that, right? Sleep for 6 months, eat one day, then go back to sleep. Aha. This is what they call Raja Bhoga Valkai. Anyway, when he was woken up, the first thing he looks for is food, like many of us, right? We wake up, we want coffee, we want food, right? Anyway, when Kumbhakarna woke up, then he said, why have you woken me up? And then the little Asura say, Ravana, Maharaja is calling you. So Kumbhakarna goes to see. Ravana is the elder brother. Kumbhakarna says, why did you wake me up? He says, I want you to go and kill this fellow Rama. Kill them all. So Kumbhakarna asked, why? What has he done? So when Ravana told the story, Kumbhakarna said, look, the right thing for you to do is return that lady and ask forgiveness from Rama. Whereupon Ravana says to Kumbhakarna, you don't teach a fish how to swim. Your job as my brother and as a member of the army of Sri Lanka is to guard the country and serve the king. Go and kill. So Kumbhakarna said, I have already told you, now is your business. He goes to battle. Meantime, Agastya has already told Rama, tomorrow Kumbhakarna is going to come. First you sever his right hand, then you sever his left hand, then you sever his right leg, and then you sever his head. Otherwise you can never sever his head. Because Rama's style is one arrow and you're dead. So he was aiming for the head, and he heard Agastya say, no, first right hand, then left hand, then right leg, leave that one leg and hit the head. And Rama did exactly that, and Kumbhakarna fell. Boom. Big hit for Ravana, because he thought Ravana could not be defeated by anybody, because that was his, anything big. So he was very sad at Kumbhakarna's death. Of course, Indrajit, Ravana's son, said, I am not going to leave Rama alone. He killed my uncle and he threatened you. So he goes to the Yajna Dwara and he does some Yajna, offering all these asatvic materials into the Yajna, and out comes the huge face of a snake that breathes fire. That fire, the moment it touches you, it will kill you. And then he became invincible. He thought he'd become invincible. He became invisible, and then he went to fight with Lakshmana. Lakshmana did not know that Indrajit was there. So Indrajit blew that, and it hit Lakshmana and he fell. So everybody thought Lakshmana is dead. And then Indrajit shows himself. He says he only have until sunrise. If he cannot be revived, he is dead. Everybody's worried. They carry him back to Rama. Rama is so distraught. Oh my God, Lakshmana. Then they asked what to do. And the medicine man there was Rishi Sushena. He says there is only one place that has a herb. That place in the Mount Himalayas, past Kailash. You have to bring that herb. It's called Sanjeevani. If you bring that, I can revive him. But you have to hurry. And looking at the distance from here to Kailash, it's not going to be possible. So you might as well make arrangements to do the final rites for this fellow. Sushena is saying, Rama, Hanuman, you heard the man, go. Hanuman straight flies towards Kailash, past Kailash, he reaches the mountain. In the meantime, Ravana has heard what Indrajit has done. He called Surya. He said, hey, Surya, come here. Of course, Ravana is mighty, so even the planets are quite fearful of him. Ravana tells Surya, I want you to rise 3 hours early, because the moment sun rises, Lakshmana is dead. What happens then? Hanuman hears this. The moment Hanuman hears this, he first flies to Surya Lok. He becomes so big that he captures Surya Lok, keeps him in his armpit. Can you imagine how big he must have been? Then flies to Kailash. He reaches the mount and he's looking for herbs. It's full of herbs. That is why the best portions that go into Ayurveda comes from the mountain tops or from the ravines surrounding the mountains. Ayurveda. You heard the story of the churning of the ocean of milk, right? Between the Asuras and the Devas. And then out came Amritavahini holding a golden kalash. And the first thing that came out of the kalash was Halhala poison, which Shiva swallowed. Second thing to come out was Dhanvantri, Ayurveda Deva. So it's very powerful, Ayurveda, right? Anyway, coming back now. So Hanuman was not sure. Everything was herbs. He couldn't see which is Sanjeevani, right? Which is Amrita Jeevani, which is Priti Jeevani. He couldn't recognize. So he said, only one thing I can do, take the whole mountain and go. So he uproots the mountain, and you can see pictures of Hanuman, right? Even in this, on the side there, you can see one picture. So he grows of huge size, the mountain becomes a small triangle, and he's flying back with great speed. When you're going to do something good, there will be some people or some energy trying to stop you. And this is shown in this particular stance. Hanuman is flying over Nandigrama. Who is in Nandigrama? Bharata is there ruling Ayodhya from Nandigrama. He saw this monkey flying. He thought somebody is coming to attack Nandigrama and is a threat to the Ayodhya kingdom. So he takes his Brahmastram and shoots. Hanuman falls. But even in his falling down to Nandigrama land, he's shouting Ram, 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 Ram. So Bharata is taken aback. He said, who is this monkey who is a threat and yet saying the name of my brother? So he brings, Bharata recognized the Sanjeevani there. So he used some of the Sanjeevani on Hanuman first. And Hanuman regained consciousness. And then Hanuman instantly knew that was Bharata. He said, hey Bharata, what have you done? I am taking this for your brother. Then he quickly told the story. And Bharata said, don't worry. If you sit on this arrow, I shoot, you will be there in 1 second, because Bharata had that power. Remember, they were all learned in archery. Hanuman said, no. If any good I want to do, I do it on my own effort, not on other people's effort. So he flew. He came before sunrise. The Sanjeevani was administered on Lakshmana, and Lakshmana regained consciousness. Okay, all was well. So that is the significance of the Sanjeevani herb. Okay. Now, after killing all of Ravana's sons except Indrajit and Meghanand, Trishira was killed, Devantaka was killed, Narataka was killed, Akshaya was killed. All these are Ravana's sons. Finally, Ravana sends his brothers, Mahodara and Mahaprashya. Even they were killed. And finally, only 2 guys are left. That's Ravana and then his 2 sons, Indrajit and Meghanad. Meghanada was very powerful as Indrajit, right? So what happens? A fierce battle ensues, and Indrajit was trying to be invisible. He went to the place where he does the yajna so he can get another powerful astra to beat Lakshmana and Meghanad. Lakshmana and Rama. But of course, Rama and Lakshmana knew, and they used Indradhanush. Remember, Agastya gave them Indradhanush and a sword. Both were used to kill Indrajit and Meghanada. So their death actually shook up Ravana. Ravana was very shaken up. The next day, the 12th day battle between Rama and Ravana. Now this is the pinnacle. This is the story, right? Big thing. Ravana came with 3 of his closest allies who were still alive. So Sugriva took one fellow, killed him. Angada took one fellow and killed him. And of course, Dala took one fellow and killed him. Now Ravana was left alone. And Hanuman said, leave this guy to Ram. Nobody gets involved. So the battle ensues. And at one point, Rama hits him with the Brahmastram. You see, the Brahmastram cannot be fired by 2 people at the same time. That was the dharma of the Brahmastram. So Rama fired it, therefore Ravana couldn't. So it landed Ravana unconscious. Rama could have killed him then, but Rama said, you go home, have some rest, come back tomorrow. Even in Yuddha Dharma, he is saying, I am very fair. Right? That is why he is known as Maryada Purushottama. Then of course, next day he comes back. Ravana comes, fully recovered, fully charged. And he comes with this huge chariot. Remember when I was talking about Kishkinda, I told you why Hanuman has got a bell on his tail. And I said to you, I'll tell you today. So in case I forget, tell me. So Ravana came with such force. Right? And Rama's Bana hit him. Ravana's head was thrown off. But out came another head. He hits him with another arrow. Out comes another head. Hits him with another arrow. Out comes with another head. He severs his hand, another hand grows. Severs his leg, another leg grows. Rama was tired of shooting arrows and taking heads. So they, on the 12th night, they go back, and Rama was meditating, and Agastya comes to him. Agastya comes to him and says, "What is your problem, Rama?" Rama says, "No matter what I do, I can't seem to kill Ravana. Because every time I survey his head, another one grows. Two things I'm going to teach you now." That is the place where sage Agastya Muni, he taught Rama a great powerful mantra dedicated to the power of the sun called Aditya Hridayam. So he teaches Rama in the middle of the night this powerful mantra, and he says, Ravana had a boon from Brahma, the boon of immortality. That means he cannot be killed. But because he was a Rakshasa, he couldn't drink the nectar. So he still keeping the pot, but in his nabi. Hit his nabi. The pot will break and then he will die. But before you can do that, you have to recite this mantra that I'm going to teach you. Have you heard of the Aditya Hridayam? Tato yuddha parishrantam samare chintaya sthitham Ravanam chagrudo dustva yuddhaya samuvastitham Devadaischa samagamya drastum abhyagadhoranam Uphagam yat pavitramam agastyo bhagavan rishihi Rama Rama Mahabaho Sunuguhyam Sanatanam Yena sarvan narin vatsa Samare Vidayasyasi Aditya Hridayam Punyam Sarva Shatru Vinashanam Jayavaham Japen Nityam Akshayam Paramam Shivam. Whoever your Shatru, Sarva Shatru Vinasanam, you can destroy that person with this mantra. And it's such a powerful mantra. Don't think it is only relevant to Rama to destroy Ravana. It is very relevant to us to destroy the Ravanas inside of us. Yava Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mara, Mavada, Matsira, Hamkara. All these are Rakshasas, Asuras inside of us. So to kill them, we need Aditya Hridayam. Right? You can learn it from the tapes, where you just listen to it and you meditate on it. You are prepared, just like Rama was to kill Ravana. So next day, of course, in the battle, the moment Rama took, and this time, his Rama's charioteer was injured, so he was looking for a charioteer, and that time he saw Indra's Mathali was coming. Remember I told you, Indra said, whenever you need him, at that time you need him most, Mathali will come, my charioteer. So the golden chariot came, Rama rose on it, and he recited, Tato yuddha parishrantam, like that. Bang at the navel, the kalash broke, Ravana fell. Boom. When he fell, his hand touched one of the bells that was on the, the umbrella above the Lord. These bells, each bell was as big as the Mulasthanam, like that. If you see the whole Mulasthanam, that's one bell. So that bell flew, and among the Vanaras, there were different types of monkeys helping Rama. One particular batch was called Singilikas. Singilikas. They were very small monkeys. They only fight with their teeth and their nails. Right? Not like the big apes like Nala, Nila, Angad, Hanuman, all that. They're big guys. They'll fight. They will carry trees and throw stones and throw and all of that. These Singilikas, they were helping in the battle, and this bell went and fully covered them. So there are 1,000 Singilikas inside there, trapped by this bell. So after the war, Rama called Sugriva and he says, please count whether all your people are still here. Head counting. You go on a trip. When you reach there, they'll count how many heads, and then on the way back, they'll count how many heads just to see if everybody is there. So Sugriva said, 1,000 Singilikas are missing, O Rama. Rama says, I don't think they are killed. Let's look for them in the battlefield. So they go and look for him. They can't find. Then Rama sees this huge bell, but inside the bell, the Singilikas are talking. Okay, that's it. We are all dead. Then one Singilika says, hey, we are serving Ram. Everybody, Rama Nama Japo. All say Ram's Naam. Oh, inside. Ram, 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 inside the bell. So the vibrations. Who would hear Ram the moment it is said? The big guy. He heard it. He told, Bhagavan, I can hear your name coming from that direction. Rama says, go and see what is under the bell. Hanuman goes, and what do you think he uses to lift the bell? He says, this bell, this size, my tail is enough. So he uses his tail and he lifts the bell, and all the Singlikas are freed, released. So Rama says, this way that I have seen you, I now grant you the boon that whoever worships you or worships the bell on your tail, whatever problems that consumes them, just like the Singlikas, they were consumed by this problem. Whatever problem that you have, you will be released by Hanuman's power. So that is why the worship of the bell on Hanuman's tail came about. And I explained to you on Thursday why he is covered in orange color or red color sindoor. Okay? So everybody was saved. And then Rama says, okay, I'm going to install Vibhishana as the new king. Mandodari was not hurt. I mean, she was very sad that her husband is dead, Ravana. But unlike Tara, who was the wife of Vali, she didn't curse Rama. She says, I myself have told him, do not engage in this adharmic act. But he didn't listen. So I fully accept the consequences of adharmic actions. So he says, let's have a Rajabhishekam for Vibhishana and install him as a king. But he said, before I do that, you must do the final rites. So Ravana's prayers was done on a very auspicious night, as I said, Phalguna Krishna Amavasya, and he rose. Ravana is actually Jaya. Kumbhakarna is Vijaya. Jaya is the one in front on the left hand side of the Mulasthanam. You see one guard there, security guard. Then on the other side you see another security guard. One is called Jaya, the other one is called Vijaya. So they went to Vishnu and said, always we are guarding your door. We never get a chance to serve you, O Lord. So Vishnu says, when I go down as Rama avatar, you will be born as Ravana and you will be born as Kumbhakarna. Both of you brothers will fight me. Is that good enough? So that is the story behind Jaya and Vijaya reincarnating as Ravana and Kumbhakarna. Anyway, so they install Vibhishana. Of course, where is Sita? So Rama tells Hanuman, go and bring Sita. But Hanuman goes and he discusses with Vibhishana. Vibhishana says, do not present Sita the way she is to Rama. Right? So bring her back to the palace. Let her have a royal bath. Let her wear nice, clothes. And then we present her to Rama. Okay. Now I'm coming to the very important part. When she comes, now a lot of people have asked me this question, right? If Rama was a righteous king, why did he ask Sita to do Agni Pariksha? Why did he ask Sita to go into the fire to prove her purity? Does he not know that she is Sita? Right? Her name is mentioned first before Rama. Sita Rama, Radhe Krishna, Gauri Shankar, Lakshmi Narayana. So, of course, the prefix for that is purity. So people have asked me this question and now I'm going to explain to you. So after this you should not have any confusion. Right? When they left Ayodhya, Vishwamitra said, call Agni Deva and ask him to protect Sita until you come back from your Vanavasa. So that was one reason why he asked Sita to go into the fire, so that Agni Deva can bring her back pure and unscathed. Rama knew that. It's not that Rama suspected his wife. Rama thought to himself, I know, but it's my Raja Dharma to make sure that everybody also else knows. So he tells Sita, prove your purity. Not because he doubted her, right? But because it had to be done for public knowledge at that place. That is one das. But you see, Tulsidas Ramayana and the other one, Rama Manas Charitra, they both have different versions. Right? And somebody here asked me 3 days ago, and I said, come back on, Yuddha Kandam and I'll tell you this. Now, apparently, because Agni Deva was looking after her, when Ravana came to capture, right, he divided Sita into two. One is a real self and one is a shadow. He asked the real Sita to go, into hiding. He hid her, and he sent the Chaya, he sent the shadow with Ravana. Right? That is one story. The other story was, because there were two versions, one was Sita and one was a shadow. Now, how is Rama going to take the actual Sita back? The only way is for her to go into the fire and come out as the pure Sita. And that's according to Agni Deva. Right? So again, the moment she touched the fire, she walked on the fire, Agni Deva came up and said, Rama, here is your pure, untouched Sita. Take her back. So Rama said, okay, fine. Now everybody knows. But because Agni tried to, Mahalakshmi, Sita is Mahalakshmi, right? Because he tried to burn her, of course he didn't, but because she walked into the fire and there's Agni Jwala there, he was cursed. So he went to Brahma and he asked, what do I do? And Brahma told him, go to this Tirtha and bathe yourself. So Agni went and did that, and the place where his dosha was redeemed, in Rameshwaram they got 21 wells. One of the wells is Agni Tirtham. That is the place where Agni Deva redeemed his dosha. Like that, because Rama killed Ravana, who was actually an incarnation of Brahma's nephew, and he was a rishi. So Rama had also committed something called Brahmahati dosha, dosha of killing a Brahman. So Rama also had to do some penance, and the place where he cleaned himself is known as Rama Tirtham. Then there is a Lakshmana Tirtham, Skodi Tirtham, Sita Tirtham. Like that, the 21 wells in Rameshwaram, if you go and bathe there, they say it cleanses you of all your Purva Janma Papam. And that is the story of Rameshwaram. Anyway, so Rama and Sita leave Sri Lanka, but how do they go back to Ayodhya? Vibhishana gives them the Pushpaka Vimana. He says, take this and go. So they sit there, and Rama flies back to Ayodhya, and he goes back the same route he came from north. North, I'm talking about what is now Lucknow. Lucknow? The old kingdom of Ayodhya was there. Can you imagine from Lucknow going all the way down, going to Panchavati, Pampa river? I told you Pampa is where he met Sabari. And then coming down to south from Dhanushkodi, going across. So he followed the same route, and he was telling Sita, look, this is the bridge we built. This is where we rested in Panchavati. This is where we met Sugriva. This is all the story he was telling. And then they stopped at Bharadwaja Rishi's ashram, because Bharadwaja said to him, remember, go and do all your thing. When you are coming back, stop there. Short Rishi Atri's, Rishi Gautama's, Rishi Agastya's, everything. And then he sent Hanuman. He said, go and tell Bharata we are coming. So Hanuman goes and tells Bharata. They are all waiting eagerly. Shatrugna was also there. And then the first thing Bharata does is he goes and takes the sandals. The sandals that Rama gave? He brings it back, he puts it at the Paduka, and he says, Rama, you are the rightful king. Then of course, he is coronated as the king. Rama Rajya Vamsam will start. And then of course they live happily, but not ever after. Because in the final Kandam, Uttarakandam, Uttara means the pinnacle, the height, the final, the epitome, right? It's the final journey. Rama, because he was born as a normal man, he does not remember who he really is in reality, right? So he forgot the promise of Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya Glahinir Bhavati Bharata Abhyutthanam Adharmasya Tatatmanam Sajamyam. Why did he take a form? So, this Uttarakandam, Valmiki, he closes the chapters and brings everything to a close. So, you talk about Sita's banishment, you talk about the birth of Lava and Kusha, sons of Rama, you talk about the Ashwamedha Yajna that he was going to do to expand his kingdom, and how the horse gets tied up by Lava and Kusha. Then the brothers Bharata, Lakshmana, Shatrughna go, Hanuman goes, they all get caught by Lava and Kusha. Then Rama goes, and Valmiki says to Lava and Kusha, release the horse, that is Rama. And then Rama invites Lava, Kusha and Valmiki to the Ashwamedha Yajna. They all go there, and part of the festivities, Valmiki asks, Lava and Kusha to recite the story of Rama and Sita, which they do. And then Rama is thinking, who are these guys? How do they know my story? At which point Valmiki says, these are your sons, Lava and Kusha. At that point he calls Sita, and Sita comes. The moment Sita witnesses Lava and Kusha being accepted by the father Rama without any problems, Sita Devi calls Bhumi Devi, who is a mother, and say, my job is complete. Consume me now in the same way you produced me in front of King Janaka in his fields. Janaki means one who is found. So Janaka found her and called her, one of her names is Janaki. So Mother Earth opens and Sita goes in, and of course Rama is distraught. Then of course they live there, for a while. And then one day Kaladevan comes and tells Rama, I need to talk to you, but in private, and nobody can disturb us. So Rama calls Lakshmana and says, we are going into the conference room. Serious conference. Do not let anybody on any reason to come inside. So Lakshmana was keeping it. He says, don't let anybody in. If you let anybody in, death is the punishment. So Lakshmana is keeping watch. Inside, Kaladeva is telling, you are actually Vishnu. And he shows him everything that has happened. It's time for you to go back to Vaikuntha. Rama realizes who he is. In the meantime, Lakshmana is waiting outside. Bhrigu Rishi comes. Bhrigu Rishi, he wants something, he has to have it. Otherwise, he'll curse you. Right? So he says, let me in now, I have to see Rama. Otherwise, I'm going to curse this Rama Rajyam. So Lakshmana is thinking, better I die at the hands of Rama than see Bhrigu Rishi curse my entire Rama Rajya. So he opens the door, lets Bhrigu in. The moment Bhrigu comes, Kaladeva disappears, and Rama says, I have to keep my word. You see, if you thought he was adharmic to Sita, he was dharmic all the way. Right? To Lakshmana, he says, as a king, I have to fulfill this Vakya, so I can't sentence you to death, but I will banish you from my kingdom. Lakshmana couldn't stand to be separated, so he walks into the Sarayu river and automatically he changes into Adishesha. Rama then calls Bharata and Shatrughna. They've got two sons each, Bharata and Shatrughna. He divides the kingdom into 4 and gives them. And then he calls his own sons, Lava and Kusha. He divides Ayodhya into 2. He gives one to Lava, the other is Kusha. He says, rule, my time to go. So he goes, followed by Bharata and Shatrughna. They go into river Sarayu, where it all began. And the moment Rama puts his feet there, he becomes Vishnu. The moment Bharata puts his hands, he becomes Shankh. And the moment Shatrughna puts his feet in there, he becomes Chakra. So Chang Chakra Gadadhari sleeps on Adishesha, and they are going up, and Lakshmi is waiting at the Vaikuntha Vasal to receive them. And they all come and give Kachi, or give sight, darshan. Darshan, sparshan, sambarshan. You need these 3 things from a guru. And they bless Ayodhya, and they tell, Rama tells Anjaneya and Jambavan that you have to be here on Bhuloka forever and serve me and my people. That is why in all the Rama temples, Anjaneya is there, worshipped before Rama is worshipped. Now, I have to tell you one thing here before I finish, because that's one part that I wanted to focus on, but unfortunately time is not on my side. I want to talk to you about a Dobi fellow called Bhadra, because it was because of him that Rama had to send Sita, although Sita was pregnant. Now, I already told you, Rama knows his wife is pure, but he has got a king's dharma to do, Raja Dharma, right? So, whenever there is a doubt, it is his job, Raja Dharma, to ensure that that doubt is appeased. So when he heard people are talking this way, he says, Sita has to live separately from me. That is also a curse that Bhrigu Rishi has given to Vishnu in one of the instances in Vaikuntha, where he says, when you take a birth, you will not be living happily ever after with your wife. 7th incarnation as Rama. So everything happens for a reason. It's not because Rama doubted her. It is because others had to believe that the king was righteous. Okay? You and I might not follow Dharma rules that way, but Rama was strict. Whether it was Sita, whether it was Lakshmana, whether it was Bharata, he was not different at all. So he sent her to Valmiki's ashram where she grew, and she gave birth to Lava and Kusha, and the rest I've told you in a speed train. So that's how the story ends according to Valmiki Ramayana. The lesson for you and I today, what can we take from Ramayana is, right, like the Rig Veda says, Satyam Vada, Dharmam Chara, always speak the truth, always do the right thing. 2 things. And don't be afraid. Put God in front of you, don't worry who's coming behind. Right? Or put God behind you to push you. You'll be fine. Do the right thing. Everybody wants to do things right, but nobody wants to do the right thing. Everybody wants to do things right, but nobody wants to do the right thing. 2 are different. Engage in doing the right thing and you'll be fine. Okay? So, very quickly, one bhajan before we go. Govinda Nama Sankirtanam. Shri Raghunandana Dasharatha Nandana Shri Raghunandana Dasharatha Nandana Bhadradishwara Rama Bhadradishwara Rama Vaidehi Priya Vaikunda Vasa Vaidehi Priya Vaikunda Vasa Sada Smari Rameti Rama Sada Smarami Rameti Rama Sri Raghunandana Nandana Sri Raghunandana Dasharatha Nandana Bhadradishwara Rama Bhadradishwara Rama Vaidehi Priya Vaikunda Vasa Vaidehi Priya Vaikunda Vasa Sada Smami Rameti Rama Sada Smami Rameti Rama Ram 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 Sri Ram 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 Jai Ram Ram Ram. Govinda Nama Sankirtanam Govinda Hari Govinda Anyada Sharanam Nasti Tvameva Sharanam Mamaha Tasmat Karunya Bhavena Raksha Raksha Narayana Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Narayanarpanamastu. May all of you be blessed.